Okay, hello everyone, good evening and welcome to the session. Uh, so, like I am pretty sure that this will be worth your time. So, I am Pooja and I'm your tutor for today at LearnPit. So, today we'll be studying algebra topic. So, let's see what do I have for you guys in the session. So, So the topic we have is quadratic equations. Okay, so this is the topic from algebra. Now, algebra includes all the expressions, equations, all about numbers and alphabets and all the stuff. Okay, so let's see what agenda we have for today for you guys in this webinar. So learning agenda we have is hashtag A, that is what are quadratic equations. Like, see, if we are going to study the topic what is quadratic equations, right? So it is necessary that you should first be knowing what is quadratic equation, because without knowing that it's not possible to learn the further things about that. Okay, so hashtag B, we have solve a quadratic equation by factorization method. So if you like, if once we understand what are quadratic equations, some more topics related to that, and in this we have factorization method, and in hashtag C we have some questions that we'll have to solve. By the factorization method. Okay, so before starting with the hashtag A part, I want you guys to know some important things about equations, like basically about algebra. Okay, so whenever if we talk about any type of equations or expressions or polynomials, anything, polynomials you guys have already learned in your ninth standard, right? So if whenever you have to learn and like if you want to make a sentence, you should know words, and if you want to make a word, you should know alphabets, correct? So same goes for algebra and maths thing also. Like if you want to calculate, you should know numbers, what are they, right? So before getting into quadratic equations, some I have some basic things regarding algebra for you, so you should be knowing that. So let's get into that. So first we have is constant. Okay, so what does constant mean? From the meaning itself, from the name itself, you can guess what it will be. So constant are what? It is a fixed numerical value. Like any, like if you talk about any number till infinite, so like from 1, 13, 15, 8, 55, or any number which you take is considered to be a constant. Okay, next we have is variables. What are variables? Okay, so these are a letter which takes different numerical value. Now what does that mean? Like if constant, for example, if you take 13 as a number, right? So it is not going to be like tomorrow the 13 will change into 15. This is not going to happen, right? The 13 will be 13 uh, today, tomorrow, and any day, right? So if we talk about variables, those are letters which take different values. Now what does that mean? That if you take X, okay, or if you take Y or A, B, any alphabet, now this doesn't have any fixed numerical value. Like if you take the value of X as 1, tomorrow you take it as 2. Okay, so like it doesn't have any fixed value, it can change according to whatever value we want to consider. Okay, those are called as variables. Now if you take together a constant and a variable, let's see what does it form. So you can see that 13 is a constant. Like 13 will be 13 always. Like X, if you put X as 1, to more, like after some time you can put 3, 4, 5. You can put any number for X. It doesn't have any fixed value, correct? So they together, a constant and a variable together is called a term. Okay, so this is very important to know. So a constant and a variable together is called a term. Now if you talk about this example, that is 13x plus 4. So can you tell me, is 4 also a term? Is 4 also a term? Just give it a thought. Yes, 4 is also a term. Why is it a term? Because it is it does not have any variable, obviously, so that doesn't mean that it is not a term. Okay, constant and variable together are called as terms, but if we talk about any polynomial, if we have a number like a constant alone, then also that is considered to be a term. Okay, and this plus sign, minus sign, multiplication sign, division, equal to sign, these all signs are called as operations. Okay, so what are these signs called as? Operations. Now these are some basic things which I'm telling you might have learned in your previous standard as well, but before doing the part, it is very important that you should be knowing all this. Okay, so let's move towards the next part that is also again important. So what is coefficient? Okay. So number associated with the variable is the coefficient. Each term of equation has coefficient. Now what does that mean? See, as we just saw in the previous like this example 13x plus 4, what is the number which is with x? That is 13, correct? So a number which is associated with the variable, that number is considered to be a coefficient. Let's take an example about this. So you have 4x squared plus 7x minus 2 is equal to 0. So if you check for x squared, what is the coefficient? 4 is the coefficient. If you check for x, what is the coefficient? 7. If you check for 2, you don't have any variable over there, but still minus 2 is a coefficient. Why is it a coefficient? Because x0 exists over there. Now what is x0? X to the power 0. So is x to the power 0? And if x to the power is 0, how could 2 be 2? It has to be 0, right? But x to the power 0 or any variable to the power 0 is always 1. Okay, this is very important. You remember that any variable with the power 0 is considered to be 1. So if we can see that there is no variable with 2, that means there is x to the power 0, and therefore minus 2 is also considered to be the coefficient. Okay, let's talk about the next thing. What is a degree? Okay, this is not the degree which you study and then gain. That is not this. Okay, so what is this degree? Degree is the highest power of variable. Now what is power? Whatever number is present on the variable, like if you talk about, like if we talk about this 2, it is present to the power of x, correct? Like your it's only x, that means it's to the power of 1. Okay, so these numbers are called as the powers. Okay, what are these numbers called as? These numbers are called as power. So if you check these equations, what is the highest number? What is the highest number you can see with the variable as the power? You can see 2. In this example, you can see 2 is the highest number you can see. Like if you talk about x to the power 0, or if you talk about x to the power 1, or if you talk about x to the power 2, which is the number which is the highest? 2 is the highest. So 2 is considered to be the degree of this equation. Okay, so like let's take another example. So you have 3x squared plus 7x is equal to 0. This is the equation. You can see the degree over here is what? It is 2. Why is it 2? Because you don't have any variable which has the power more than 2. Okay, so it is the highest of all the powers, and that is considered to be the degree. Okay, so we have equation in one variable. Now what does that mean? This sounds quite similar to polynomial in one variable as well. So you might have studied in your previous standard what is polynomial in one variable. Let's learn what is equation in one variable. So variable, I've already told you, those are alphabets, that is any alphabets, okay, from A to Z. So let's take this example, that is 5x squared plus x minus 2 is equal to 0. So you can see this is an equation, right? So variable means what? It is an alphabet. So if you check throughout the equation, you can see there's only one variable throughout the equation. Like you don't have any other, like you only have x throughout this. Do you have y? Do you have a, b, No, you don't. So only one letter throughout the equation is considered to be equation in one variable. Okay, so I hope you're clear with this part, that what is equation in one variable, what is coefficient, and what is degree. Okay, so equation in one variable is that the equation throughout should have only one alphabet or one variable throughout it. Okay, that is called as equation in one variable. Okay, so let's get into the actual hashtag one, that is the first part of our session. Okay, so what do we have in this session? Like, what is the first part of this? What is a quadratic equation? Okay, so the topic is about quadratic equations, so obviously we should know what is a quadratic equation, right? So let's see what is a quadratic equation. Quadratic equation is an algebraic equation with, now first of all I'll tell you what is an equation. Equation means a polynomial with equal to sign. Okay, so if there is no equal to sign, it is considered to be an algebraic expression. Get it very clear in your head. Algebraic expressions do not have equal to sign, and algebraic equations have equal to sign. Okay, that's the difference between both of these. So quadratic equation is an algebraic equation with one variable and highest degree as 2. What does this mean? Like, this sounds quite different, right? Algebraic equation, it is an algebraic equation, it has one variable, highest degree 2. Okay, don't worry, I'll be telling you. Let's talk about quadratic equation we are learning, right? Algebraic equation, I've already told you that algebraic expression with equal to sign is called an equation. Okay, now what is one variable? So one variable, also I've told you that if you have only a single variable, if you have only single variable throughout the equation, it is one variable. Okay, let's learn the next part, that is highest degree 2. So degree, also I've already told you what is a degree. Degree is the highest power, right? Okay, so quadratic equation should have, first thing, that it should be an algebraic equation. The second thing is it is a variable, like it should have a variable, only one variable, not more than that, and the highest degree should be 2. Only 3 conditions you just have to remember: algebraic equation, one variable, and highest degree as 2. Okay, let's see some examples and identify, are these algebraic expressions or not. Okay, so here your question is y to the power 5 by 4 plus 9 is equal to 0. So what is the first thing you have to see? Is it an algebraic equation? Yes, it is. You can see the equal to sign. It means it's an algebraic equation. Second thing, do you have one variable? Yes, you can see that throughout this equation, sorry, only one variable is present. So it has one variable, and the third condition, highest degree is 2. We cannot see any variable with highest degree. This is not to be considered. So therefore, this condition is not fulfilled, and this is not an algebraic equation. Okay, let's see another example. So you have is 5x squared plus 9x plus 7 is equal to 0. So you can see that first of all, it is an algebraic equation. Yes, because you can see the equal to sign. And the second thing is variable. So you can see that only one variable. So you can see that throughout the equation, you can only see x. You don't have any other variable which is present, right? So yes, it has one variable, and the third thing is highest power 2. So you can see that this doesn't have any x, so it is x to the power 0, and this is 1, and here we have the power as 2. So as we can see that the degree is 2, the highest power is 2, this is a quadratic equation. Okay, let's check out for some other examples. So you have 0.5, 5 to the power 5, sorry, 0.5 p to the power 5 plus root 3 p to the power minus 3 plus 5 by 3 p. Okay, now let's observe. is it an equation? It is not an equation. So if it's not an equation, how would you identify that is it a quadratic or not? Okay, so first of all, it is not a equation. So let's check the second thing. With one variable, it has one variable throughout the thing, like only p is present, so one variable is being satisfied. But if you talk about the highest degree 2, so it doesn't have any highest degree as 2. So two things, like all the three should be fulfilled, but only one does and not the two. So if any of the one condition does not satisfy, then it is not a quadratic equation. Okay, let's check the second one. So 5x squared plus xy minus 7y squared. Okay, I want the answer to this question from you guys. Tell me yes or no. Is it considered to be an algebraic equation? Is not considered to be an algebraic equation. Now, why is it not considered to be an algebraic equation? You can see that the highest power is 2. This condition is already satisfied. Then you can see that it is not an equation, but if you carefully see it, you don't have an equal to sign present. So it is not an equation. And the second thing, you can see that it doesn't have a single variable, right? Okay, so because of that also it is not a quadratic equation. You have two variables, but you also have x and you also have y. Okay, so this is not considered to be an algebraic equation. Okay, let's check for another thing. So here your question is root 3x squared minus 6x to the power minus 1 minus 12 by 5. So here we can see that clearly this is an equation and it also has one variable. Why is it not a quadratic equation, right? Just because this power is negative. So the power should be positive in a quadratic equation. That is the thing you should remember, that the power should be what? They should be whole numbers. That is the thing. So you can see that as this power is not a whole number, this is not considered to be an algebraic equation. Next we have is, you can see that 2x squared plus 5x plus 0.9 is equal to 0. So this is an algebraic equation. Then the second thing is it has variable, only one variable throughout. Yes, that is x. And the highest power is also 2. So yes, this is an algebraic equation. Okay, so root x plus 9, is it algebraic quadratic equation? So x to the, like, root x can also be written as x to the power 1 by 2. Okay, so x to the power 1 by 2 plus 9 is equal to 0. So this is an algebraic equation. Second thing, it has only one variable. But the third thing is not satisfied, that is highest degree is not 2 and therefore it is not an quadratic equation. And last but not the least example we have is 6x squared plus 11x minus 35 is equal to 0. So if you observe in this equation, you have one variable, it is an algebraic equation, and the third thing, it has the highest power as 2, and this is considered to be an algebraic, no, quadratic equation. Okay, so let's move towards the next part. So now you may be clear with what is an quadratic equation, but I'll give you detail information about quadratic equation now. So what is a quadratic equation? Okay, so definition is, in mathematics, a quadratic equation is a polynomial equation. Okay, polynomial equation of the second degree. That means the degree should be 2. Okay, so what is a quadratic equation? It is a polynomial equation with the highest degree, with the degree as 2, and the general form. Now this is very important. The general form is very important. You should know what is the general form of a quadratic equation. So it is ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Okay, so this is a general form. Now, if you see where x represents a variable, so in place of x, it can be in place of x, it can be any variable. Okay, it can be y, it can be a p, q, r, any variable. Okay, and x represents a variable or an unknown value. Okay, because we don't know the value of x for this equation. We have just put that variable, and it depends from question to question what will be the value of x. Okay, and a, b, and c are constants. Okay, so a, b, and c are constant. What I have already told you what are constant, like they are numbers with a is not equal to 0, and that is very much important, that a should not be equal to 0. Like, what if a is equal to 0? If a is equal to 0, the equation is a linear equation. What is linear equation? With the highest power, like the highest degree as 1. Okay, and if a is equal to 0, then the equation will no more be a quadratic equation. And because of that, a should not be equal to 0. Okay, so the constant a, b, and c are called respectively, that is the quadratic coefficient. A is called the quadratic coefficient. Why? Because a represents the numerical coefficient of x square. So quadratic means what? Highest power 2. So power 2 who has x square has. So it is also called as the quadratic coefficient. Okay. B represents the numerical coefficient of x. I've already told you what is a coefficient, right? I'll just repeat. The value with variable is called as the coefficient. So x is like B is considered what? It is called a linear coefficient. Linear means what? A variable which has the highest power is 2. So if you have 3x plus 2 is equal to 0, so that equation will be considered to be a linear equation. Okay. And the constant term or free term. So C represents the constant numerical value. Okay, so A is what? Quadratic coefficient, B is linear coefficient, and C is constant term, or you can also call it as that constant numerical term or free term. Okay, so let's check some examples for this. So 2x square is equal to 0. Now you can see that bx and c is not present. How could this be a quadratic equation? Now if you observe, the condition was b and c can be 0, but a should never be 0. So in this you have a, the coefficient of a is what? The coefficient of x square is what? 2. So a is 2. So B and C, if they are 0, doesn't matter. The highest power you can see that it is 2. It is an equation, and it has only one variable, and hence it is a quadratic equation. Okay, let's check for the sum, like the rest of the examples. You can see 2x square minus 7x is equal to 0. So you don't have C in this part, but you have ax square plus bx. So it has equal to sign, like it is an algebraic equation. It has one variable and it has highest power 2, so it is a quadratic equation. 2x square minus 50 is equal to 0. So you can see that again, you don't have bx, but you have c, right? So this is also a quadratic equation, and like it is an equation, like algebraic equation, one variable, and it has the highest power. Next we have is 5x square minus 3x plus 3 is equal to 0. So in this you may observe that it is an algebraic equation. Then it has the highest power 2, and what? It has one variable throughout the equation. Okay, so yes, this is also a quadratic equation. Okay, so let's move towards the next part, that is some questions. So let's find, like now you might be thinking, oh, we have already done so much of questions regarding the quadratic equation. Is it a quadratic equation or not? But they were quite simple, like a very easily recognized questions. Now here we have some actual quadratic equations called questions, and you have to find out which of the followings are quadratic equations. Okay, so the question is 11 is equal to minus 4x square minus x cube. Okay, you guys tell me what is the answer to this question. Is it a quadratic equation or not? Just just tell me yes or no. Come on, you guys can tell me what is the answer to this question. Is it a quadratic equation? 11 is equal to minus 4x squared minus x cube. Is it a quadratic equation? Okay, let's check is it if it's a quadratic equation or not. So you can see that if we shift all the terms on the left hand side, so you get the equation as x cube plus 4x squared plus 11 is equal to 0. And you see that the highest power is 3. And since we need highest power is 2 and in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, this is not a quadratic equation. Okay, so let's try for the second one. So it is y minus 2 y plus 2 is equal to 0. So now if you observe this question, it is like y minus 2 y plus 2, so it's like a minus b and a plus b. So the algebraic identity, that is a square minus b square. Okay, so what we can write y minus 2 and y plus 2 as y square minus 2 square is equal to 0 as well. So this becomes so if you observe y square minus 2 square, it is um, similar to the identity, that is a square minus 2 square a square minus b square. So this becomes, now see if you observe, is it a quadratic equation? So this, if you write this equation in the general form, it becomes y squared plus 0y minus 4 is equal to 0. So the highest power is 2 and it satisfies the equation, that is ay squared plus by plus c is equal to 0. And yes, it is a quadratic equation in variable y. Very good, Arnab. Like, your answer was absolutely correct about the previous question. It was not a quadratic equation. Okay, let's move towards some more questions. So check whether the following are quadratic equations. So here the question is, now this question looks quite complicated, like not easily getting answers. So let's see if it's a quadratic equation or not. So what we'll do is we'll check, we'll first simplify the left hand side. So x minus 2 the whole square plus 1 and x square minus 4x plus 1 plus 1. So if you simplify x minus 2 the whole square, like a minus b the whole square, so it becomes a square minus 2ab plus b square. Okay, so this becomes x square. So this becomes x square minus 4x plus 4, and 1 will be as it is. Now if you add 4 and 1, it becomes 5. So this is the equation that you get. Now what we'll do is we'll shift this term also on the left hand side with this equation. So x square minus 4x plus 5 is equal to 2x minus 3. This, like, we simplified this part and we just wrote over here. Okay, now we'll shift this part on the left hand side. So this becomes x square minus 4x minus 2x plus 5 plus 3 is equal to 0. So we'll simplify the common terms. You can see that minus 4x minus 2x will give us minus 6x, and plus 5 plus 3 will give us 8. Now if you carefully observe this equation, it is in the form of ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0. And yes, it is a quadratic equation. Okay, so let's solve this one. So again, you have to do the same thing, simplify both of the sides, and on the right hand side, like, or take all the terms of right to the left and then check if it's a quadratic equation or not. So if you see, since x into x plus 1 plus 8 is equal to x plus 2 x minus 2, so x into x plus 1 plus 8 is equal to x square plus x plus 8. So what we did is we simplified it, and x plus 2 and x minus 2 will be as it is, and x into x plus 1 plus 8. Now what we did is, in this part, we simplified this part as well. Okay, so this becomes x square plus x plus 8. So this is this part, and then you have x square plus x plus 8 is equal to x square minus 4, that is x plus 12. So what happens in this case, if you take the x square on the left hand side, so x square minus x square is what? 0. So this will get cancelled, and what will be remaining? If you shift 4 on this side, it becomes 8 plus 4, and that will be 12. So you can see that the highest power is not 2, and it is also not in this form. So therefore, this equation is not a quadratic equation. Okay, so let's move towards this. Okay, so the question here we have is, now the question we have is, we have to form it in the form of a quadratic equation. Like, they have given us some condition and we have to make a quadratic equation out of this. Okay, so the product of two consecutive integers is 306. We need to find the integer. So product of two consecutive terms. Now first of all, let me tell you what is a consecutive term or integers. Consecutive terms are which come one after the another. Like if you talk about 2, 3. So after 2, what is the number that we get? It's 3. So those are called as the consecutive. Okay, and if you talk about, like, if you talk about consecutive odd numbers, so after 1, what is the next odd number? That is 3. After 5, what is the next consecutive number? That is 5. Okay, this is how consecutive numbers are. Okay, now let's check the solution to this. So consecutive number which come one after the other. Two consecutive integers. So if you talk about 10, so if we add 1 to it, so it becomes 10 plus 1. So 10 and 11 are the consecutive numbers. So the product of two consecutive numbers. Product means what? It is multiplication. So let the first integer. Now what we'll do is, we will consider that the first integer be x. So if the first integer is x, second integer is x plus 1. Because if it's 10, the first integer is 10, the second will be 10 plus 1. So if the first one is x, the second one will be x plus 1. According to given condition, the product of two consecutive numbers. So what you have to do, product means what? You have to multiply both the numbers. So x into x plus 1 will be equal to 306. Okay, and x square plus x is equal to 306. Now if you take 306 on 6 on the left hand side, this looks like a quadratic equation. Like, it is an equation, it has highest power 2, it has one variable, and yes, this is a quadratic equation. So they'll give you such conditions. Also they'll give you a question and you have to form a quadratic equation. Okay, so here we are done with this question, and is the required representation of problem mathematically, and this is how you solve this question. Okay, so here we are done with the first part of our session, that is hashtag 1. That is what is a quadratic equation. Let's move towards the next part, that is hashtag 2, that is what. Okay, before the solution by the factorization method, I'll tell you one important thing, that is what are roots of an equation. So the value of x that satisfies the condition and is the solution of the equation is called, are called the roots of an equation. Now see, looks very long sentence and all those, but what does that simply mean? Roots are the solution of an equation. That means whatever value of x in the equation satisfy the condition is the root of that equation. Like if you put any value of x, and if you get at the end as 0, that is called the solution or the root of an equation. Okay, so let's move towards the. So the next part we have is solution of quadratic equation by factorization method. Now what is factorization method? There's a method to factorize a quadratic equation. Now, first of all, why do we have to learn factorization method is to find the solution of a quadratic equation. Okay, so only learning letters and only learning words is not enough. You need to know how to write the sentence. Like you need to know how to write a paragraph. You need to know how to write an essay, right? The steps goes on increasing. Same is for maths as well. So if you know what is a quadratic equation, the next step is how to find the solution of that quadratic. What will be the value of x for for that quadratic equation? Okay. So there's a method to factorize a quadratic expression known as splitting the middle term. Okay. Now what does that mean? You just saw that we have three terms: ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So the middle term bx has to be splitted. That is the main motto of our factorization. Okay. Let's see, we know that x plus 3x plus 4 is equal to x square plus 3x plus 4x plus 2. What we did is we multiplied this for this second bracket with the first term, and then we multiplied the second term with this bracket. Okay, so we get, so x into x is x square, then you get x into 4 is 4x, 3 into x is 3x, and 3 into 4 is 12. Okay, now if you see x square you've written as it is, and if you add 3x and 4x, what it becomes? 7x. You can say that this is actually like a quadratic equation, right? See, x square plus 7x plus 12, so ax square plus bx plus c, right? This is very like a quadratic equation, right? Okay, so here we observe that the coefficient of the middle term is the sum of the two numbers. Now see, I'll tell you how. The 7 that you got over here, okay, when you add 3 and 4 you get 7, that is the b, and when you multiply 3 and 4 you get the c, that is 12. And that is what you will be given, this quadratic equation, and you have to find these terms. That is what you have to do in this factorization. Okay, so you have to find such numbers that their addition or subtraction is the middle term, like the middle coefficient, and their multiplication is the a and c. Like if you see over here, this is 1, right? So 1 into 12 will be 12. So this also, like if you have 3 over here, so if you multiply 3 and 12, what you get? 36. So you'll have to find such number which adds or subtracts to get the middle term. That is what the factorization is. Okay, don't get confused. I'll explain you with an example. So let's check like step by step then. Okay, So I've written, the question is 2x square plus 11x plus 12. So I've written is as it is. First part, what you have to do is multiply the x square term with the constant term. So x square term is this and constant term is this. So when you multiply 12 with 2, it is 24. Okay. Now next thing. Split 24x square into two terms. Okay, in two terms such that they add to 11x. That is the middle term. Okay, so you multiplied a and c over here. You multiplied a and c over here. Now, whatever answer you get, you have to find such numbers that they add to get 11. Okay, so if you split 24, so 8 into 3 is 24, and if you add, that is 9, 10, and 11, so they form 11. So you are getting the multiplication of a and c, and you're getting the middle term as well. Okay, so bring down 2x square and 12. So 2x square and 12, you will copy it as it is. Okay, you just have to split this middle term. You have to replace this middle term, and rest of the terms will be as it is. So first thing what you do is multiply a and c. Okay, so whatever answer you get, find such numbers which multiply to that number, and their addition or subtraction, you get the middle term. Okay, and the first term you will copy as it is, the third term you will copy as it is. Now what you have to change is the middle term. That means the 11x gets replaced with 8x and 3x. Okay, so when you add 8x plus 3x, you get 11, right? So you just have to split the 11. Okay, now what? Now the next thing is you have to find the common from two terms. Okay, so if you take common from these two terms, so 2x square plus 8x. So what is common over here? 4x? No, that is 2x. Okay, because you don't have 4 over here. So 2x is common in both of them. Now, if you remove 2x in this part, so 2x into x, you'll get 2x square. And 2x into 4, you'll get 8x. Okay, this is the first term that you get. Now, very important part is this bracket and this bracket should be same, exactly same. Like the numbers, the terms, the addition, multiplication, and sign, all of them should be same. Okay. So now we have for the second term. So 3x plus 12, what is common in them? X, no, you don't have in second term. 3, yes, 3 is common in both of them. So 3 we took this as common. Okay, and then 3 into x will give us 3x, and 3 into 4 will give us 12. Okay, and here you got this term which is exactly same to this term. Okay, now the next final step is copy this term as it is, like the common one as it is. So we copy this as it is, and the next step is 2x plus 3. Like what is remaining other than those brackets? That is 2x plus 3. So copy the 2x plus 3 down, and here you get the roots, like the two numbers of a quadratic equation. Okay, you can solve these further. So x plus 4 is equal to 0. So here the value of x becomes minus 4, and here the value of x will become minus 3 by 2. Okay, I'll tell you how in the next part. I hope you're clear with this part. First, what you have to do is multiply a and c. Second thing what you have to do is whatever answer you get, split it in such a way that you get two terms which multiply to that term and which add to the middle term. Okay, after that, whatever terms you get, write it in the middle by replacing the middle term, and then find the common of the two terms, and then you get the two brackets and you'll be done. Okay, so group the first two terms and the second two terms. Okay, the grouping should be the same. That's the first binomial, and the other binomial comes from the other two terms. So what does that mean? That this binomial and this binomial, binomial means a polynomial with two terms. Okay, so both of these should be same, and the other bracket that we get is from these two terms. Okay, do you have any doubts? Can ask me, no problem. I'll do any of though, like any of you have any doubts, can ask me. Okay, so let's move towards the next part. So I'm taking this example. Okay, this is 3x square plus 7x plus 2 is equal to 0. Okay, so what is the first step? Multiply the first, like the a and the c. So after multiplying a and c, you get 6. Okay, then you have to get such numbers that their multiplications should be 6 and their addition should be 7, like the middle term. Okay, so factors can be 1 and 6. So if you multiply 1 into 6, you get 6, and if you add 1 and 6, you get 7. That means yes, you can add, you can use it. But can you use 2 and 3? Okay, let's check. So if you split the middle, like if you multiply the a and c, you get 2 into 3, that is 6. Okay, what if you add 2 and 3? You get as 5, and that is not your middle term. So this factors will not be considered for this equation. Okay, getting how you have to find that out. Multiply a and c, first thing. Second thing, whatever answer you get, find multiples or factors of that number such that they add or subtract to the middle term. So in place of 7x, what we have written is 1x plus 6x. Okay, then let's take a common. So if you take 3x square plus 1x, okay, so what is common in both of these? Nothing, like only x is common. So let's put x outside, and we'll write rest of the things in the bracket. Now let's check for this term. What is common? 2, right? Like 2 is present in this also and this also. So 2 is common, and then 2 into 3x is 6 and 2 into 1 is 2. Okay. So wow, the main motive what we had is to had this and this bracket as exactly the same, right? And that we got. Now next bracket we get from this x and plus 2, and voila, we are done, right? So we got the solutions, so like roots of the equation by these brackets. Okay, so this is how you have to do the factorization method. I'll take some more examples so you get more clear with this part. Okay, so let's move toward that. So solve the following quadratic equations by factorization method. So the question is x square minus x minus 132 is equal to 0. Okay, let's copy the question, like the question as it is. Find product of third number with first number. So multiply a and c. That is the first step. So 132 into 1 is what? 132. Okay, minus 132. You have to remember that minus sign is good. Okay. Now next thing is find two factors of 132 in such a way, you have to find two factors of 132 in such a way that by subtracting the factors we get middle number. Just because here we have minus sign, you'll have to find such number that by subtracting you get those numbers. Okay, you have to look out for the minus sign as well. So middle term is 1. So subtraction, like by subtraction of those two numbers, you should get 1. So if you find the factors, it's 12 and 11. Okay. Since last sign is minus, give middle sign only to bigger factor and opposite sign to smaller factor. Okay. So as the sign, like after the multiplication, we get minus 132, right? So the bigger one will give minus 12 and the smaller one will give 11. Okay. Why this? Because you can put the minus sign to 11 as well. No, that is not right, because in the center also we want minus. So if you put minus over here, you'll get plus 1 as the answer, and that is not what you want. You want minus 1, so the bigger one should have minus. Okay, so we'll write 12x plus 11x in the place of 1x. So now we have is x into x minus 12, like the common will remove outside. And for the second term, for the first term we have x is common, and for this term we have 11 as common. Okay, now you have x minus 12 and x plus 11. So now this is the next step, like to actually find the roots. Like till now in the previous questions, I was just telling you how to like properly solve factorization questions. In this, I'll be telling you the exact answer finding method. Okay, so like the roots. So till here I've already explained you. So that is equal to 0. So your answer can be this bracket or this bracket. Okay, so because of that, I've written over here as 11 minus x minus 12 is equal to 0 and x plus 11 is equal to 0. So the 12 got shifted over here, and you get the value of x as 12, and the value of the 11 got shifted over here. So the value of this will be minus 11. So the value of x can be 12 or it can be 11. Okay, both of them are considered to be the roots of the given quadratic equation. Okay, I hope you're clear with this part, like how you can find the roots of a quadratic equation. Don't worry, I'll tell you some more examples so you get very much clear with this part. Okay, if anyone has any doubt, you can ask me. Okay. Okay, so now we have the hashtag 3 part that is actually solving the questions of factorization method. Okay, so let's solve some questions. So we have the first question as x square minus 3x minus 10 is equal to 0. Now what you do is we factorize using splitting the middle term method. That is what we are doing, right? So splitting the middle term method, we need to find two numbers whose sum, like the sum should be minus 3. So the sum should be minus 3 and the product should be minus 10 into 1. So that is minus 10. Okay, let's find. So let's check at the factors. So if you take minus 10 and 1, so what is the sum? Minus 9. And the product is minus 10. So product we are getting as proper, but sum we want minus 3. So we cannot use these factors. Okay, let's check for the next one. So if you see, minus 2 into 5 will also give us minus 10. Right? So we're getting the product as minus 10. But we want minus 3. We don't want 3, right? So again, this is cancelled. Okay, the next is 2 and minus 5. Okay, so if you take 2 and minus 5, you get sum as minus 3 and you get product as minus 10, and that is what you want. Correct. So in place of 3x, we'll put 2x and minus 5x. Now taking the common term, so common from x and 2x is what? X. So we'll be taking x plus 2. Common from 5x and minus 10 is what? 5. So we're taking minus 5 outside, and you get the two brackets over here. So the roots of this equation, is 5 and minus 2. Okay, so the roots of this equation is what? 5 and minus 2. Okay, so this is how you have to solve. Like, they will split the middle term. After splitting the middle term, multiply the first term and the third term. Okay, and you'll get the answer. Whatever answer you get, split it into such numbers that their product will be your answer and their addition or subtraction will be your middle term. Okay, let's move towards the next question. So the next question is 2x square minus 5x plus 3 is equal to 0. Okay, so now what will you multiply? Okay, you guys tell me now that what terms will you have to multiply first? What will you multiply in this question? What terms? Come on, you can do it, guys. Come on. Tell me what will be the answer. What terms will you have to multiply? Okay. Arnav has told us 2 and 3. Yes, that's correct. Okay, great. So your 2 and 3 are the terms you'll be multiplying. So we factorize by splitting the middle term. So if you multiply 2 and 3, what do you get? 6, right? So after multiplying 2 and 3, you get 6, and you have to find such number that their addition will be minus 5. So 3 into 2 is what? 6, and their addition is 5. So these are the two terms. So minus 3 and minus 2. Now why minus? Because our middle term is minus 5. So if you add minus 3 and minus 2, you'll get minus 5. Okay. So now taking the common term. So in this, what is common? X is common. So we'll take x outside. 2x minus 3. In this, what is common? 1 is common. So we'll take 1 out, like minus 1 is common. We'll take y minus 1 outside. Then we'll write the 2x minus 3. So the main, like these two brackets are same. That means you're going great. Okay. So you have to keep a check on yourself while doing this sum, because like if you don't get both of these brackets the same, then what? Then that means you're making some mistake. Okay. So first bracket you get is 2x minus 3, and the second is x minus 1. Okay, so 2x minus 3 is equal to 0, and what will happen now? 3 will go on this side, so it becomes positive, and we have to find the value of x, right? We don't have to find the value of 2x. So this becomes x is equal to 3 by 2. Okay, and here the simply 1 will go on the right hand side, and you'll get the value as 1. Okay, so hence 3 by 2 and x, like x is equal to 3 by 2 and x is equal to 1 are the roots of the equation. Okay, let's move towards the next question. So our next question is 3x squared plus 34x plus 11 is equal to 0. So let's see the steps. What you have to do in this part? So you have to multiply 3 and 11. Okay, you guys tell me what will be the factors of 33 that you'll be using over here. Come on, guys, quickly tell me what will be the answer. What factors will you be using? So after multiplying 11 and 3, you get 33. Okay, tell me such factors that the middle, like their multiplication, you get 33, and their addition, you get 34. Okay. 33 and 1. Okay, Arnav has told us 33 and 1. Let's check if it's correct or not. 33. Wow, correct. So Arnam is totally correct. So the numbers are 33 and 1. So 33 and 1 are the two factors that we'll be using, and both of them will be positive because you can see that throughout the equation only positive terms are present. Okay, so in place of 34x we'll be putting x plus 33x. Now the next step is find the common terms. So common terms over here will be, in this part you can see x is common, and in this part you can see 11 is common. Okay, now this bracket and this bracket is same, that means you are going correct. Okay, so 3x plus 1 and x plus 11. So what are the two factors that we get? First is x is equal to minus 1 by 3, and the other is x is equal to minus 11. Okay, so you guys don't have to worry about this. Like, you might be thinking that it is like very complicated, or it looks complicated or anything like that. No, but it's not. It's very easy. You just have to practice. You just have to find the factors and you'll be done with this question. Okay, multiply the a and c and then split it into two terms and you'll get the answer, right? So this is how you have to do. Okay, so what are the roots of the given quadratic equation? That is minus 11 and minus 1 by 3. Okay, this is our last question for the day. Don't worry, and after this we'll end the session. Okay, so let's see, like, if we have any question that is like a fraction, how we solve those by the factorization method. Okay, so we'll write the question as it is. So multiplying throughout by 9. Now, why multiplying throughout by 9 is, you can see that denominator you have 9 over here, and you have what, 3 over here. So we have to take the LCM of 9 and 3. So what is the LCM of 9 and 3? That's 9. Okay, so if you multiply throughout by 9, what will happen? 9 will get cancelled over here. Okay, 9 will get cancelled over here.